Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk digital versus paper budgeting with the Budget Mom.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, I am Sarah, also known as Budget Girl here on the internet, and I have the greatest pleasure today to be joined by my new friend Miko,
Hello.
also known as the Budget Mom. Can you tell us a little about you?
Yes, so I am a single mom to my 7-year-old son James, and I use the budget by paycheck method for my budgeting, which means I budget my money every single time I get a paycheck.
And you invented that, yes?
Yes. Well, I did take, I failed for a long time with my budgeting, and after my son was born, I kind of had to have a mindset shift. And I started looking at the positive of all the budgeting methods that I've tried and thought failed. And it's kind of 3 different budgeting methods all rolled into one with a step-by-step, really honed down process.
Okay. And you produce a planner to keep track of all that, right?
Yeah, it's called the Budget by Paycheck Workbook.
It's, very, very cool. Gorgeous thing. And the people that use it are obsessed. So I thought it would be fun because I'm totally a digital girl, and I don't use cash envelopes. They didn't work for me. I thought it would be fun to kind of compare the pros and cons of both methods, because you do use cash envelopes and you do your entire budget on paper, and you also budget by paycheck, whereas I budget by month. Also, we want to say, first off, you should do whatever budget works for you.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah, I get a lot of questions from my readers that say, how should I do this and what should I do here? It's all about what really works for you. Because if you don't feel that peace of mind, that confidence in your money decisions, you'll never be truly successful with your money.
And personally, I get a lot of those questions too of like, the way you're doing it isn't working for me. I'm like, that's great that you know that. Try something else.
Yeah.
So I wish we'd had someone.
It's a good thing it didn't work for you.
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you figured out that it didn't work and you didn't just keep trying and failing it. So I tried by paper, just like by a printout form of like, this is how much my rent is. And I think I tried one app and I was like, this isn't going to work for me. I can't make notes anywhere. And I ended up making an Excel sheet, which just kind of clicked in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because everyone thinks that, and especially as a busy mom, single mom, having an app or an electronic program, having it on the go would be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, though, for me, it didn't work because I'm the type of person where things don't become real or tangible until I put pen to paper.
Okay.
So my biggest aha moments were, it's a lot different. Like when I paid off a credit card, it was a lot different for me to write a 0 on a piece of paper rather than type a 0. Those emotions to me were a lot different.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I actually did use paper, like progress trackers.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I used like the debt-free charts from debtfreecharts.com.
Hey,
and
shout out to Heidi, Debt-Free
Yes,
Charts.
Heidi,
we
hi.
love your charts.
Oh, we will link her down below. All of her ones to get out of debt, like the early baby steps, are free. So that's awesome. That kept me going.
Yes.
But yeah, for me, I liked having it on my phone because I could see immediately if I had enough money left in the budget, and it also allowed me to like maybe reconcile receipts while I was at work on a quick break, or just wherever I was at home. I didn't have to keep track of a planner that I was terrified I would lose.
Yeah.
And also back when I was starting this, I don't think there was like a budgeting planner around.
Yeah, it's nice to know what I have at the moment to spend. That's where my cash envelopes come in.
Gotcha.
And
yeah.
It's funny because I've kind of made this process work to the fact where I don't really need electronics because I was such a, I felt those feelings as I'm writing things down. I really thought that was important. So for me, I actually save all of my receipts throughout the day and I track them at night when I get home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very similar to how I save all my receipts and I just track them electronically when I get a second.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe let's talk cash envelopes and why they work for you and why they don't work for me.
So why didn't they work for you?
I would, divvy up all my cash envelopes and I'd have it all. And then I'd go somewhere where I needed exact change and I would like try to make change from the things. I'd write little notes on it saying like, I owe $10 to grocery from entertainment, and it would end up so messy. And I also wasn't keeping receipts at the time because I was told if you're doing cash envelopes, you don't need to like keep receipts. It's just quit spending when the money is gone. And also when I got to the end of the money, I was like, where did this go? And I had no idea. And that's when I figured out I'm going to have to actually have a place where I can go and look at, I did go to Lane's and Target and then Taco Bell and then Target again. and I'll remember what I spent my money on. And I think that also played into a bit of like the contentment of like, I'm, you know, a lot of people feel budgets are really restrictive, and I felt that when I was doing cash envelopes. But now that I can go back and look what I spent my money on, I'm like, oh, like I bought myself a lot of cute stuff this month.
Yeah, a lot of things for me. And
yeah, a lot of things for me. 100% fair.
Yeah, it's funny because with me, the cash envelopes, I'm a spender at heart. And so swiping my debit card and not being forced to look at the big picture of my spending and to really ask myself those hard questions, I'm the type of person where I need to see in front of my face, this is how much I have to spend, and when it's gone, it's gone. I'm the type of person where I need that type of discipline. And so saving my receipts and doing it when I got home, and learning along the way to really not steal from other envelopes. Now, I still do it. I still do it.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, life happens. But for me, it was just easier to have that cash in my hands. I really do think for me it was that psychological reasons of just really making it tangible.
And there have been studies that show that people spend less when they spend with cash versus any type of card, credit or otherwise.
One of the most interesting discoveries I found being an all-cash spender the last 9 years is that, now I never swipe my card. In fact, I could probably throw my debit card away tomorrow. But what I found what was really interesting is that I would spend smaller bills before I touched my big ones.
Okay.
And so at the end of the month, I found myself saving more of my cash.
Really?
Yeah. So,
That's
you know,
interesting.
people talk about the money they have left over in their cash envelopes. I would sit here and spend my 5s, 10s, 20s, and even my 50s first. And I would find myself with hundreds left over at the end of the month. All because I'm like, I don't want to spend this nice, crisp $100 bill. It's really hard. It's harder to hand someone a $100 bill than it is a $10 bill.
Yeah.
Emotionally, it's hard to let go. And that's what I found myself with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think it might have also played in that I started with such a low budget that like seeing the scarcity of how many bills were there, like played into a fear factor.
Oh, for sure.
For me.
Yeah.
Because I think I might have had one $100 bill the entire time I did cash envelopes. I usually got out 20s because it felt like I had more money somehow. Does that make sense?
All 5s.
Yeah, all 5s and they all feel rich.
Yeah.
So I don't know, something about just being and also the convenience of being able to swipe and then just keep the receipts, go back, track it later, and I can always see where I am at the month. And also that it auto-calculated the amounts for me, and I didn't have to do math. Like my spreadsheet has, you know, calculations and they feed, and that it works for my brain. But yours works for your brain, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's just really, and sometimes you have to think about how you feel.
Which is so valid. It's a valid thing, and you shouldn't ignore how you feel about money because that's going to impact how you act about money.
And so many of my readers are saying, you know, they tell me, well, Miko, I feel this way, but I'm being told to do something else.
No.
There is no right or wrong way to budgeting. Your way is the right way.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because we are drastically different in our budgets, but we're also very, very successful with our budget.
Yes, because if you're budgeting your money and you're being intentional about your money, you are lapping every single person who is just kind of living paycheck to paycheck or spending as they come and go and not knowing what's happening with their money.
Right, and I think the really funny thing is we're different pretty much on every level, but there is one very, very important thing that we're the same on, and that's awareness. We both still track our spending, I think, and as my readers know, that is my number one step in my budgeting process. And I think it's that awareness that will allow you to truly be successful no matter what method you use.
Absolutely. Because I don't know about you, but before I started budgeting, I didn't know where my money went. And I certainly didn't, you know, put any to savings or to other goals because it just went away.
Yeah, it's really hard to be intentional when you have no clue what's going on. And
or even how much you make sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, how if I were to ask you right now, how much did you make last month and where did it go? Or how much did you spend on food? So there are so many people out there who can't answer that. Yeah. And I really feel like knowing how much you make is just as important as knowing where it went.
Absolutely. And I used to not do that. I used to work 2 or 3 jobs, and you know, some of them were like waitressing type gigs, or it was like kind of pay under the table type situation, and I didn't know what was coming in or where it went. That was college for me. Like I probably made so much money in college, but
I know,
it just
it's like
went
that
away.
point where you like find $50 in your back pocket, you're like, oh, $50. I don't know where this came from.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I would have lost that much money even temporarily, because it would have been gone already.
Yeah.
So we have one more difference between us. I budget by month, you budget by paycheck.
Yes.
And I've actually had a lot of readers tell me, how do you budget by month when, all of your bills are due on the 1st and your first paycheck doesn't necessarily cover all of them. And for me, and what I recommend for people who do it by month, is to, once again, save up, try to get a month ahead. So you're working off of last month's money, but you do it differently, and I don't think you have to do that in your plan.
No. So when I was first starting out and my son was probably 1 or 2 years old, I remember I tried doing the monthly thing, but I was struggling because I couldn't get 1 month ahead with my income. So my brain is wired to budget my money every single time I get a paycheck. Now, if you are getting paid one time a month, technically you are a monthly budgeter. For over 9 years, in fact, up until I left my full-time job to work for the Budget Mom full-time, I got paid on the 5th and the 20th. And it was so frustrating to me that, I would sit here and try to put myself in a monthly box. Going a month without truly analyzing or diving into, or even doing an analytics of your spending for the month or whatever, for me, feels like a very long time. I need more accountability than that. And plus, I was paying my bills every time I got paid. And so my mind was just wired that way. And I think it's really important to understand, as you're figuring out what method works for you, is learn what type of learner are you.
Yeah.
And so that's why it didn't work for me that way.
Yeah. For me, when I got paid twice a month, I think it worked out easy enough where I could pay, some bills on the 1st and some bills on the 15th, and then just kind of divvy up my money. But I really love, it's honestly one of my favorite things to see a monthly snapshot of every single dollar that came in, everywhere it went, and then my favorite part, what's left over.
Yes.
And then at the end of the month, I get to go, I have this pot of money, where is it going to go? And I get to pick where it's going to go, and then I close out the month and I start a new one.
Yeah.
And that's really fun for me.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We, with my method, we actually budget by month. So we pay our bills, we allocate ourselves some variable spending money, we take care of our financial goals when we get paid. But then what we do is I have a thing where we close out our budget every month, and that's where we see the big monthly snapshot.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
So that doesn't, you still get to do that.
Yes.
Even though you're kind of,
yeah.
you know what, it could be good for accountability if you're making sure to check in kind of each paycheck.
Yeah. For me, I just really needed that, because if I did not have a plan for the dollars that I received, the moment I received it, it's gone. I would find myself, spending on crazy stuff. And so I really needed that accountability the moment it hit my hand.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a hoarder, so I liked kind of holding any extra money in a pot.
Yes.
And people would always ask me when I was paying off debt, are you paying more throughout the month? Because obviously that'll save you interest. And I was like, no, I wait until the end of the month, so I make sure nothing else has happened that will, steal from that money. And then I'm like, it's ready. And I just go, boom, one giant payment.
One big payment feels so good.
It feels so good. I think this is really cool, and I loved hearing why your money system worked for you.
Yeah, I really think it does come down to just those psychological and emotional triggers, stepping back and saying, why does this work? Why am I feeling successful right now when I wasn't when I was doing it the other way? Start picking apart the methods that you are using and really ask yourself, why is this working? Why is this not working? There's something going on where you really have to dive in and really start looking for those things.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. And the thing is that there are so many methods that if you have a psychological, fear against, the money slipping away or something like that, you can pick and choose, and you can make budgeting your own to the point where you're sating those fears and it's calming something inside you, because so many of us are so scared about money. And I remember being so scared about money, and my budgeting helped that because of the method I used.
And that's where the freeing feeling comes in,
Yeah.
where there's no longer stress, there's no longer overwhelm, there's no longer wondering, what am I going to do? I mean, how many times a month with our money do we ask ourselves, what do we do now? Or where does it go? Or how much should I be spending?
Yeah. Or can I afford this?
Can I afford this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's where Yeah, the freeing part, where once people think budgeting is restricting, but you know, once I had those parameters in place and a working budget, I was like, yes, I can absolutely afford this.
Yeah.
I have this much money sitting here for this exact purpose.
Right.
And it gave me confidence
Yes.
to spend.
Well, and then too, you know exactly that your financial goals and where you sit with those, and that those are being taken care of. And as a mom, for me, that was like completely liberating. That was, for me, that gave me almost like a sense of power and confidence that I didn't know that I had in myself before I started budgeting. I was that mom that was more scared of, oh my gosh, can I afford to get my son McDonald's today? And so,
Much less pay for college.
yeah, much less pay for college. And so once I started and I knew that these financial goals were getting taken care of, it was very freeing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miko. It was really such a pleasure hanging out with you this week. I was so thrilled to meet her, and we've been able to hang out a little bit. And if you haven't checked her out,
Favorite person I met at FinCon this year.
so sweet. If you haven't checked her out, I'm sure you know who she is, but I will link all of her stuff down below. Make sure you go over, subscribe to her YouTube channel, which just got a refresh.
Yes.
Yes, and check her out on Instagram, her favorite place in the world, and over at her website. And if you are new here, maybe from one of Miko's channels, hi! And I'd love it if you hung out and subscribed and maybe liked this video for more budgeting awesomeness. All right, I will see you guys next time. Bye.